So now we're going to program one of my favorite programs in the book. It's called Gashlycrumb, and it's named after the Gashlycrumb Tinies, which is an abecedarian book that was written by Edward Gorey, one of my favorite authors. If you've never read this or seen any of his artwork, I highly recommend you look at it. But it's an ABC book where instead of getting A is for apple and B is for bear, we get A is for Amy, who fell down the stairs. B is for Basil, assaulted by bears. So the book each page talks about a different way in which a child dies a gruesome death. It's really fantastic. So our program is going to work by taking a letter of the alphabet like A, and it's going to look up the line in the file that starts with the letter of A. So because of copyright issues, I'm going to show you an alternate file that I wrote. So the Gashlycrumb.txt file that's in the repository is the text from the actual book. But for a couple of reasons, I also wanted I've incorporated an alternate text that I wrote because I want your program to read this from an input file. I don't want your program to have this hard-coded inside the program. So part of what you're learning here is how to build a lookup table from an input file. This is something that you would do quite often, and we're going to use a dictionary for our lookup. So how would you build a dictionary dynamically inside your program using input that you read either from the user or from an input file or something like that? It doesn't really matter where it's coming from. So if we look at the structure of this file, the alternate.txt file, what we see is one line for each letter of the alphabet, and the lookup value is going to need to be the first letter. So we've already talked about this like in the crow's nest, how to get the first letter of a line of text. So we know also from the word count program, now that we just finished, how to read an input file line by line. We also know how to use argparse to validate that a given argument is an actual readable file. And we know that that will be provided to us as an open file handle, and we know we can say for line in file handle to iterate over each line in a file handle. We know from crow's nest how to get the first character of that, and then we've been practicing with building dictionaries. So given the key, which is the first character of a line, we want to set the value to be the line itself. And then we're going to take one or more positional arguments from the user that will be the letters of the dictionary that we're supposed to look up. So for instance here I show that if we run it with the letters E and F, it will then print those two lines from the file. E is for Ernest, who's choked on a peach. F is for Fanny, sucked dry by a leech. So we're going to have to accept one or more positional arguments, and those will be letters of the alphabet. We're going to accept an optional file, and if it's provided, that must be a readable file. But the default value of this is going to be Gashlycrumb.txt, which is provided for you. We're going to read that file, find the first line of the first letter of each line, and then we're going to build a dictionary so that we can look up that letter, the letters from the user. We're going to have to iterate over each one of the positional arguments, which are the letters, and then we're going to either print the line of the text for that letter, or we're going to have to tell the user that we can't find that letter. And then along the way, we're going to learn how to pretty print a data structure, and I'll show you what that means in just a bit. So we're going to be building on several skills that we've learned in previous exercises, and so stick with me, and we'll talk about how to write this program.